So around the edges of Democrats and their media counterparts celebrating and gloating over the Trump conviction, the cratering Biden polling numbers have been a blaring warning siren about the anger of the American people over this kangaroo show trial of Donald Trump. And the news for the Democrat Party on this matter is only getting worse. President Trump has now, in just 3 days, raised over $200 million in donations to his campaign. And now, on top of this, the state of Virginia, which has been a stronghold of the left since President Obama won the state back in 2008, has had a new poll come out, which is showing a 42 to 42% tie between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. For context, Biden won Virginia by 10 points in 2020. So follow me on this. 10 points. What does that translate to into votes? Joe Biden in 2020 won Virginia by almost 500,000, almost 500,000 votes. So to be tied now in the polls is incredible. This, my friends, is huge. Virginia is a state that Biden really cannot afford to lose. If he is doing this badly in Virginia, of all places, then states like Wisconsin, Nevada, and Michigan are most likely in trouble as well. And of course, there's the New York poll that we talked about yesterday. Now, a Trump campaign spokeswoman, Karoline Leavitt, commented on the current state of affairs, saying this. She said, Joe Biden is so weak and Democrats are in such disarray that not only is President Trump dominating in every traditional battleground state, but longtime blue states such as Minnesota, Virginia, and New Jersey are now in play. President Trump, she went on to say, is on offense with a winning message and growing his movement every single day. Joe Biden's campaign should be terrified. And indeed, some elected Democrats are becoming terrified and they're beginning to panic. This is not how it was supposed to go. And the backfiring from the court trial conviction seems to only be intensifying. From the cash donations alone, the Trump campaign has now received over $70 million of the $200 million, this is as of yesterday, in donations from small cash donors. Take a look at this conversation between Maria Bartiromo and Eric Trump.
So what have you seen in the way of money raising? I spoke with President Trump yesterday. He said it's nearly $200 million. That is astounding. Is that number correct? Where does that number come from?
Well, this might be a little inside information, but as I was leaving my house about 37 seconds ago, I asked my wife, what are we up to now? And she said, just in terms of small dollar, we're well over $70 million. This is $21 donations, $43 donations, right? Small dollar donations. If you add the large dollar donations to it, you're over $200 million, but you're over $70 million. And by the way, Maria, wow. 30% of those people have never been seen before by a political party, right? I mean, these are Americans who are pissed off. They're coming out of the woodwork, and they want to support a guy that they just believe is getting bamboozled by a system. And we saw it with impeachment 1. We saw it with impeachment 2. We see it where they weaponize every liberal DA and AG across the country with one intent, to take him down, to slander him, to ruin his reputation, to try and divide his family, to try and bankrupt him, to throw him in jail, to do whatever the hell they can do. And America sees through it. They know exactly what's going on. Al Capone had one count, one felony count. Donald Trump has 34, over $130,000 8 years ago. A case that everybody dropped, a case that no one would pick up, and something that was completely legal.
And that's the point. You have all these new donors coming in a way that we've never seen before. And this is creating real panic among the left. There is a real palpable fear that is starting to break through the cracks, which is going to take me to our story for today. This is going to be from the conservative news outlet, the National Review. And this article is written by Brittany Bernstein and is titled "Pardon Trump," says Dean Phillips, House Democrat to New York Governor Hochul. So Brittany writes, Representative Dean Phillips called on Democratic New York Governor Kathy Hochul to pardon Donald Trump for the good of the country after the former president's historic felony conviction. Donald Trump is a serial liar, cheater, and philanderer, a 6-time declarer of corporate bankruptcy, an instigator of insurrection, and a convicted felon who thrives on betraying himself as a victim, Phillips wrote in a post on X, Twitter, on Friday, before going on to say that Hochul should pardon him anyway. In a subsequent post on Saturday, Phillips said this. He said, "You think pardoning is stupid? making him a martyr over a payment to a porn star is stupid. Election charges are entirely different. It's energizing his base, generating record sums of campaign cash, and will likely result in an electoral boost. And he's right. The outrage at what is seen as a political persecution and election interference is palpable on social media. There is trouble brewing for the Democrat Party. For example, we've seen Trump's polling data among black voters jump to nearly 20% now, with Biden's support falling to 71%. For context, okay, prior to 2016, the average percentage of black voters, the black community voting for Republicans, was a paltry 7.5%. This is from 2000 to 2016, 7.5%. So for Trump to be hitting 20% spells very serious trouble for the Democratic Party. For decades now, they have taken this group of voters for granted. If this slide continues to move in Trump's direction, the fallout could end up being catastrophic come November for the Democratic Party. Anyway, Brittany goes on to write that the conviction has served as a fundraising boon to the Trump campaign, which announced Friday that it had raised nearly $53 million in the first 24 hours after the conviction, which as of day 3 has already blown past $200 million. Anyway, she writes, 70% of Republican voters and 43% of independents said they believe the conviction was driven by motivation to damage Trump's political career, according to a new Morning Consult poll released Saturday. The poll found that 49% of independents believe Trump should end his campaign because of the conviction. Just 15% of Republicans said the same. Still, the poll finds Biden and Trump neck and neck, with the president leading the former president by just 1 point. I mean, even Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is weighing in on this unprecedented situation and warning the Democrat Party about what they're doing here. He's putting out the clarion call on social media that Americans are viewing this trial outcome as a politicization or weaponization of the judicial system. He is espousing his concern that this will undermine faith in the judicial process and democracy itself, which is a hello, no duh. And Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has also labeled the verdict as, quote, profoundly undemocratic, and is criticizing the Democratic Party for attempting to defeat Trump in the courtroom rather than at the ballot box, which I would argue that that's pretty much the way that most Americans are seeing this. Even the ones that are dyed-in-the-wool Democrats and are never going to vote for Trump and are still going to vote for Biden because party affiliation, anyone with a modicum of common sense could see that what happened here is entirely unreal, surreal, and is very much antithetical to the American way of life. We don't go after our political opponents this way. Anyway, Kennedy went on to emphasize the importance of maintaining the neutrality of the judicial system. Well, that ship has sailed. And he talked about how winning elections through the electoral process is the way to go. I say all of this to say this. Panic, my friends, is growing in the underbelly of the Democratic Party. Now, whether Governor Hochul would actually pardon Trump or not, I think is irrelevant at this point. The Pandora's box has already been opened. The American people have witnessed the Banana Republic corruption firsthand now. We have now lived through a historic moment that will live in infamy in American history for generations to come. And what comes next? Honestly, I think it's anyone's guess. But my expectation is the chaos is only just beginning. From the To Be Frank show, my friends, I am Adrian. As always, thanks for watching. See you all in the next episode.